Hello everyone, CMeeCraft here, and welcome back to Light in the Dark. We averted our previous demise last episode, and now it's on to day 7, A Light in the Dark. Let's go. It was the same dream. There was no sky nor ground, only endless darkness. I couldn't control my thoughts, despite being fully conscious. It felt like watching some old documentary. I heard intermittent sounds that seemed to be made by cats or sobbing children. I tried to find the source of the sound, but there was only darkness around me. I couldn't take hold of anything while listening to it. I had no choice but to search blindly, oblivious to the passage of time. Eventually I saw something. It was an empty living room. The desk was scattered with all kinds of things: wine glasses, a medicine bag, books, and papers. Mother was lying on the sofa in her pajamas, and with messy hair. She was crying with her face covered. Did this really happen, or was it all a fabrication? The living room was always spotless and clean in my memory, and my mother was always radiant with makeup on. So why couldn't I remember all of this? Confusion and fear turned into waves that engulfed me, back to the darkness. Day 7, noon. I could vaguely smell the familiar cigarette scent, and opened my eyes amidst the seemingly, it's gotta be seemingly, never-ending rain. What came to my vision was the girl right before my face. She squatted before me and just kept staring at me without blinking. Do you two just enjoy scaring people like that? I helplessly protested. Even with that malice, it was still not pleasant having someone staring at you when you woke up. What? You think I would do something to you while you slept? Seeing my panicking expression, she smirked. What do you want? Don't move. She grabbed my hand without my permission. The pain when she touched my wounds made me try to shake off her grip, but that didn't faze her. She rolled up my sleeve, revealing the nasty purple-black color across my arm. I saw the swollen wounds marked with blood like some scary totem. She just grabbed my hand without saying anything. I didn't know what she wanted, but didn't resist either, since I didn't sense any ill intention. Yet she didn't do anything, just looked at me quietly. What, finding me too attractive? I couldn't bear the unease and spoke. Idiot, I have no interest in a pussy like you. I tried to joke around, but only got the look from her. Does it still hurt? She lowered her glance and touched my wounds lightly. Her trembling eyelashes seemed to hide some unspeakable emotion. It's alright. It wasn't treated when I got hurt, and probably would take quite some time to recover. I was lucky it didn't damage the bone. She grunted and let go of my hand. It was unbelievable, but she seemed to regret the fact of hurting me the day before. She kidnapped me, yet didn't really want to hurt me. She hated to be discriminated against, yet was full of bias against the rich. Perhaps even she was aware of all these contradictions. So what now? What do you think? She returned the question with a self-deprecating expression that was hard to look at. She sat back by the window and took out a phone. Then I heard the sounds of text messaging. The sound of rain and typing intertwined, becoming a peaceful melody that echoed within the room. So what now? What chat options do we have? Her expectations, so I heard you were a straight-A student. Do you still keep in touch with your father? those are all really good. I should check observation just in case anything is particularly new or interesting. But honestly, I think we just chat all 3 of those. Yeah. Alright. And, yeah, let's chat. Real quickly, though. Our stamina is at full, so we don't need to worry about needing to rest for anything. We'll start with, so I heard you were a straight-A student. So I heard you were a straight-A student. The girl paused upon hearing me, then awkwardly turned to look at me. What the hell did she tell you? Realizing who could have leaked that secret, she sighed with resignation. So what, do you have a problem with that? No, just found it interesting. Maybe things would have been different if she had stayed in school. Have you sought out government aid, like from the Department of Social Welfare or the district office? With her father missing and mother having passed away, they could have applied for low-income relief, and maybe the government could make some arrangement to help them settle down somewhere. It would be quite incompetent if they couldn't even take care of such a case. Not qualified. Not qualified? Do only those where everyone else in their family is dead count or something? What the hell did she tell you? She impatiently sighed. Haven't you woken up? Don't you get it? Those sitting in their office chairs, those that make the laws, think everything is in order and organized. Poor people can apply for low income. People in debt should file bankruptcy. The law only seems to protect everyone. You keep saying, why don't you do this and that? There must be another way. Well, if the world is really that nice and dandy, why do I need to kidnap you? Maybe... Save your breath. We know what reality is like, unlike you who live in a dream, thinking all those crimes are just special cases. Just wait. As long as you keep thinking like that, those cases will never disappear. Finishing her declaration, she shrugged and started laughing. But that's none of my business now. What would disqualify them from that? She surprisingly had outstanding grades. Things could have been different if she had completed school, but that was all but impossible now. I don't know. And her dad is alive somewhere, right? So maybe he's got money, and therefore doesn't qualify? She doesn't qualify? Although as an independent adult by now, you'd think she would qualify for programs. Interesting. Okay, let's continue with the chatting, because again, I really like all 3 of these options. Let's see, do you still keep in touch with your father? Yes. Yeah, that's... Although she does kind of hate her father, right? So bringing him up might not be the best idea. Well, we're committed though, so... do you still keep in touch with your dad? Hell no. I don't even know where he is. Right. I guess he's probably hiding somewhere abroad. No, he's not that rich. None of his buddies are that nice. He's probably just hiding somewhere, picking up some part-time jobs here and there, and just muddling along with no thought of tomorrow. Or maybe he already kicked the bucket. Oh. I didn't expect her to describe it so vividly, as though she saw it herself. I was already 7 by the time he left, so I have some memories of him. He was one of those rich people, but somehow thought he could make as much money as them anyway. He always boasted about what our lives would be like once he got rich. And now he doesn't even have the balls to come home. Hilarious. I'm thinking of the timeline here, right? So her dad leaves when she's 7. So if we presume she's what, maybe mid-20s, 25 or so, we could say. She'd have, for the ages to line up with the two children, right? If we're talking like a middle school student and an adult, right? She'd have to be like just barely 20. Unless the sister's a half-sister, potentially. That could be it. Anyways, regardless. That seems like the case, because they definitely seem like they're probably more than 7 years apart, I'd say. Anyways. Yeah, hilarious. Perhaps it was the recollection that led to dissatisfaction. In contrast, the little girl didn't seem to care as much. Perhaps even she didn't notice herself. The sympathy and pity hidden deep under all her complaints. What now? One last chat? But hopefully things end up working out alright. What are her expectations here? What's your game plan from here? Hey. Shocked by the rare occurrence of her talking to me, I raised my head. About what you said yesterday. She pondered a little and breathed out white smoke. There was some warmth in her eyes. If there were more people like you, perhaps it wouldn't have ended up like this. Branded with the word poverty, they never got much recognition from society. If people didn't criticize others based on just financial status, perhaps they wouldn't have come to this. Is that some sort of compliment? Up to you. She didn't answer my question directly, as she nonchalantly turned her head towards the window. Day 7, noon. Got the money? No. She gave me a straight answer without a change in her cold expression. She put the phone back in her pocket and looked at the scenery outside of the window. Then she spoke calmly. Doesn't matter. I've made up my mind. Made up your mind? Hearing the implication within those words, I tried to confirm with her. Huh? She grunted in response, keeping her gaze focused somewhere far away. On what? Stab me and call it a day? How perceptive of you. She flashed a naughty grin at me, to which I could only reply with a bitter smile. It wasn't that funny when he tried to joke about this sort of thing. You're surrendering yourself, or did you find somewhere to hide? I couldn't think of other options, yet she only shrugged nonchalantly. You'll find out eventually. That only makes me even more concerned. I didn't think she would end my life, yet her strange calmness made me nervous. If there was a backup plan, then she wouldn't have been panicking the days before. Why was there such a great change of attitude overnight? Like a tune without harmony, the dissonance slowly expanded in my heart. I never believed in overnight enlightenment, hearing someone say how they realized the truth of the world and gained a new life after joining some cult was more unbelievable than the plot of a bad sci-fi film. If a value you held true for decades could be changed with a few words, then what was the point of living? Hey, something just didn't feel right the more I thought about it, so I decided to figure out what she meant by making up her mind. Huh? What do you want? Seeing through my attempt, she laughed. What, scared? Shitless. I'd rather have some time to prepare myself mentally, like saying a prayer or leaving my will. Oh, are you a religious man? Not really, but might as well be before my imminent death. You know. Hedge your bets. You're going to hell anyway for saying that. She changed her pose against the wall, yet her gaze hadn't left the phone while answering me. Her behavior only confused me even more, so I decided to change the topic. Where will you go after getting the money? Anywhere. Taiwan is a big place. Still, staying in Taiwan? I thought she was prepared to go abroad and hide there till it was all over. Where else then? She asked with one eyebrow raised. Oh, I think China speaks the same language, right? I could be wrong about that. Right, yeah, they speak Chinese in Taiwan, right? Surely. I'm not good at finding loopholes and managing money laundering with overseas accounts. Those folks steal all this money, yet never pay the price. There's no way for us to compare with them. We at most can just manage some puny kidnapping and robbery to get money at the risk of our lives, all because we're not educated. Words were filled with self-mockery and hatred. There was even a sense of self-abuse when someone as proud as her was saying that. Considering all the developments till now, plus her words, I finally put all the puzzle pieces together. You are the scapegoat, aren't you? With that train of thought, many things started to make sense. Why did she get into this mess with her sister? Why did she know so much about me despite being a lousy kidnapper? The creditor gave her the information about the kidnapping and told her it was a chance to pay off all the debt plus earn some extra cash to start a new life. To avoid responsibility, they didn't even provide any sort of assistance. That's why she had to enlist her sister's help. For the true culprits, there was nothing to lose. There'd be tons of cash waiting for them if it worked out, and no trouble, anyway, if it failed. They had no choice but to gamble on this opportunity. They forced you to. I made that decision. As though knowing what I was about to say, she glared at me. You think I'm a kid? Played like a fool that knows nothing? Spare me. I'll take responsibility for my actions instead of involving others. I couldn't come up with a response to her words. She could have pushed it all on other people, yet she chose to bear it all herself. But my sister didn't know anything. She just followed my instructions. Her expression darkened upon mentioning her sister, pressing her lips as though holding something in. She didn't have some exceptional determination, letting her carry all this weight. She was just pushing herself. I then realized how similar we were. We hated to be seen as weak, the idea of becoming the people we despised. We both hated this world, except she chose to resist it with crime, and I chose to escape. I never saw someone this eager to be arrested. You are messed up. I must be, or I would have killed myself like my mom a long time ago. She snorted carelessly. There was no sadness in her voice, as though she was just recalling yesterday. Arming herself like a hedgehog, she refused to give up despite the challenge. She made it this far with the dream of a better tomorrow. If even that couldn't be granted, what else was left for her? I couldn't help but feel sympathy. Hearing the text message notification, she glanced at it briefly. Of course. What? Paying me no mind at all, she just lowered her head. There was no usual abusive aura. In its place was some abnormal calm. She closed her eyes and sighed, then started dialing. Who are you calling? None of your business. Where is the money? She cut right to the chase and kept going before getting a full response. I'm done talking. She twirled her hair in a dispirited manner. This was totally different from her usual tone. She wasn't in a hurry, as though she didn't even care about the ransom anymore. Something changed. The sense of unease weighed heavily on my chest. I used to be able to somehow guess her thoughts, yet I still couldn't figure out this crucial decision she had made. Enough. Do you think I don't know that you're just stalling. You're all the same. Thinking everything is under control and the others are all idiots. I could hear sounds from the other side of the phone, but she ignored all those and continued. Just because you're lucky enough to earn a little more money than others, you thought everything should follow your way. Well, we should all listen to you. Give me a break. There was clear hatred in her voice. She coldly delivered her final words. Then so be it. I will make you regret everything. She hung up the phone and threw it at the table. She took out the last cigarette from the box and let the smoke drift through the room. What? Say something. Sensing my hesitation, she asked me. I was thinking how to word this in a way that wouldn't trigger her. Seeing me not answering, she frowned and pushed me a little. Shoot, weren't you quite a talker not too long ago? Well, I learned my lesson. That's what humans are good at. I warned you from the start, but you didn't listen. So did you give up, or what? The heavy mood was disrupted by the conversation. I ignored the last bit of worry in my mind and found the courage to talk. Yeah, who knew anyone would prioritize money over his own kid? He probably still wouldn't cough up the money even if I murdered you. There was a bitter smile on her face. I did hope for some moving miracle, but here was the reality. Without trust between the two parties, there would be no negotiation. Even if he paid the money, the kidnapper could still break the deal. There was no insurance for the family. It was the most logical and accurate course of action, yet it made my heart ache like some bug bite. So am I free to go? Who said anything about freeing you? Don't get the wrong idea. I don't pity you. You're still way more well off than us. She leaned over while raising her eyebrow. It was so close I could smell the tobacco. What's the point of keeping me if there's no money involved? For the record, I can't cook or clean. Well, I'm a bad choice for a housekeeper. Who knows? She raised the corner of her mouth as though enjoying toying with me. You are really falling for me, aren't you? Maybe in another 10 years, rich boy. She squatted while replying. She started to tighten the rope to make sure I couldn't get out of it. Is this still necessary? The rope rubbing my wounds created a new wave of pain. I couldn't help but complain about it. I need to get out. You just wait here. Hey, when will you be back? What if I need to go to the toilet? Hold it then. I'll be back once I grab a few things. Grab what? Have fun guessing. Ignoring my protest, she left. What was she thinking? Hearing her footsteps getting further away, I couldn't figure out the current state of events. I couldn't do anything but sigh heavily. I was by myself, in the room, and no one would hear me, no matter how loud I yelled. My limbs were tied up so tight I couldn't even stand, let alone escape. I started listening to the rain out of boredom, and waiting for the passage of time in silence. I suddenly realized how pessimistic I had become. I wasn't scared as much as I used to be, nor focused on escaping. Realizing this was coming to an end, I had given up even the desire to gamble. If I were you, I might have done the same thing. I remember our conversation from last night. It was said with full honesty after understanding her helplessness and anger. Even in the 21st century, you still live in a world not so different from the past, where your upbringing was destined at birth. Despite all the claims of freedom of choice and competition, we're still born different. Look at all those rich folks having a headache over a business problem. Are they truly happier? Those who fail blame it on the environment, while those who succeed credit themselves. Using those vague words to numb yourself, you can choose to ignore the unfair world around us. Normal people would just gripe about it briefly. How much hatred could someone who had difficulty in having a normal life harbor? I sighed in depression. The hot breath turned into white smoke in the freezing air. Wrong. Perhaps we all know about it too well. But we only choose to tell ourselves these lies since we couldn't change it. Just like now, I couldn't change anything even though I understood their pain. Day 7, night. Where is this going? I heard footsteps on the stairway, then the sound of the door opening. I grew speechless when I saw her. What's that? Supermarket sale? There were 2 gigantic plastic bags of stuff in her hand. Different from her savvy demeanor, this looked more like an upstart. She took out my bag matter-of-factly and left it on the desk after whirling it a little. It's not my money. Yeah, an upstart, alright. So, you're staying quiet. Should have done that earlier. She tilted her head, apparently not used to seeing me this obedient. What else could I do? Crack my head against the wall? That would have saved me the trouble. She dumped all the food on the desk as though she just robbed a convenience store clean. The other bag was all alcohol. All sorts of beer cans lay on the desk. More than enough for 2. Hey. She suddenly passed me a beer. Drink with me. Me? Who else is here? What now? In a good mood? Whatever your call. Sure thing. I grabbed the beer before she changed her mind. Confused as I was, I didn't plan to let go of what I could get. She opened the microwaved spaghetti, which made the whole room smell like butter, a scent more enticing than anything I had ever smelled. Here, this is yours. Is this the Last Supper? Still not knowing her plan, I asked half-jokingly. Last Supper, huh? She muttered with head tilted, then gave a nonchalant smile. Maybe. That was a bad joke right there. Because see, the thing is, at the Last Supper, a traitor was identified in their midst. And I don't want any traitors right now. I just want this to proceed smoothly and I want to survive this. But I really couldn't care less. When there was hot food right before me, I took the food but had difficulty removing the wrap. Can you loosen the rope? Why? No need to worry about me escaping. I don't plan to leave here before finishing my food, even if you open the door and put a red carpet out there. Don't be ridiculous. It's just a microwave bento from the convenience store. Just to be clear, I will kill you if you try to run. She did loosen up the rope after leaving the threats. I still couldn't use my hands freely, but using the fork was no problem. I quickly opened up the box and dived into the food. The hot sauce spread within my mouth and warmed up both my stomach and heart. Finally, having a proper meal after several days. I was almost moved to tears. Oh God, I didn't know microwave food could be this tasty. Is that so? She responded absent-mindedly. Compared to me, wolfing down the food, she barely ate anything and kept drinking the alcohol. It's easy to get drunk if you don't eat something. She clearly wanted to get herself drunk like that. Worrying what might happen next, I tried to remind her about it. Be quiet. Isn't that what you want? I don't know. I didn't invite you to drink with me. Dear you nagging. I'll throw you off a cliff if you don't start drinking. Aye, madam, ma'am. I had no choice but to raise the bottle after hearing her threats. She was a surprisingly quiet drinker, with one hand in her pocket and leaning against the wall like a silent statue. It wasn't really that enjoyable to drink beer in this cold weather. Luckily, my body started to warm up and I could focus better. I kept myself conscious by eating food and drinking only low-alcohol beer. Hey. What? What did you mean when you said it's too late yesterday? You're quite the talker. She turned her head away and sighed impatiently with her index finger, sliding on the edge of the beer can. It's more strange to stay quiet when drinking together like it's some funeral. Whatever. Showing no interest in the subject, she had another large gulp. How would you come up with the subject? Anything you want? I still couldn't figure out her decision. The sudden change of attitude and the vague situation made me uncomfortable. It made more sense to let her say whatever she wanted than to ask her about it. I told you before, right, about my dream? After staying silent for a while, she quietly spoke. About starting a new life somewhere no one knows you? She threw the can to the ground once it was empty, making a clear clanking sound. Your money won't change anything, she said quietly. There was no anger in her voice amidst the rain, only powerless acceptance. The debt my father left was more than just a few $100,000. Why would I need to work this hard if that was the case? Your money can only pay for the accumulated interest at best. It's pointless. I still need to keep working and it would never be enough. Don't look at me like that. I don't need your pity. Her face was red and I could see the effect of alcohol in her eyes. The light in them seemed to reflect all my thoughts. How much do you even know? She held up a cigarette and tried to calculate. She gradually breathed out the smoke, then shook her head. I can't remember, but it's an amount I couldn't pay off, even if I worked day and night all my life. She picked up the can and waved it left and right. She seemed to be figuring out what words to use while listening to the sound inside the can. The weak light shined on her face. She looked extra miserable from days of stress and fatigue. All these thoughts, fear, hatred, and pity all mixed up in my mind. What does it have to do with me? If the world isn't fair, they should be punished for causing this mess. Even once I understood that this whole thing wasn't just her problem, I still had these thoughts every once in a while. Locking them up wouldn't solve the problem without changes to the social structure. There would always be new crimes. Yet, so what? We all just focused on the problems before us and wished these people would disappear. Rather than worrying about the faraway future, we care more about the present, where we reside. The alcohol spread within my mouth. It was too bitter to swallow. You know what I'm scared of the most? I waited for her to complete her sentence. I'm afraid of seeing myself having the same exact life for the next few years, or next decade, or till death. It would be like making all this money for others like a slave. I'd rather just gamble it all than this. Otherwise, I'd rather just die. I couldn't retort. Where there's life, there's hope. Felt like some pointless mockery. She moved on to the next bottle. I could feel the strong alcoholic scent from her and her warm breath. Want to be drunk, want to forget everything, want to let it all go. I could tell all of these without even asking. They kept coming to our place after Dad left, smashing wine bottles, leaving paint on the wall, anything you could imagine. They even forced me to help out at a nightclub when I was around 12. Those rich people really have some effed up fetishes. It didn't take long before my mother broke down after facing these people daily while taking care of the kids. She covered the tragedy casually as though it was someone else's experience. Do you know what she told us before committing suicide? She told us not to hate our father. She said we're just unlucky. She started to laugh mockingly, then continued to mumble in a trance. It wasn't that far off from a movie plot. There were tragedies around us, but they never came to our attention until we were affected. I once thought for a long time about what went wrong. Why me? Then I realized we were just born unequal. Our lives are just worthless. If there is a God, then F him. How dare those rich people look down on me? By what right can they tell us to use our brain as though they're the smart and successful ones? She got more and more agitated, trying to let go of all the injustice in her heart. What's so special about them outside of being lucky? What could they do if they lived the same life as me? The wine bottle smashed into countless pieces on the floor. Debts, the kidnapping, separation from her sibling, all these things finally got to the girl. Her suppressed emotions all came out like a collapsed den. She panted heavily and couldn't calm down her upheaving chest. All I could do was look at her quietly, without saying a word. She took a step back, then collapsed to the floor against the wall, like a wrecking ball. I want to start over. Her hands hugging her legs were shaking, and there was sobbing in her voice. It was the first time I saw her this fragile, like a carefully crafted glass work. I wanted to forget all this. I want to restart. I want to go somewhere no one knows me. Is that so much to ask? Why can't I have something others can enjoy effortlessly? Why? Why me? Why? She mumbled as though in a dream. Her voice gradually died down until it was not audible. She didn't ask for some outrageous lineage or a rich family. All she ever wanted was a normal environment. But she couldn't get it. The world isn't fair. Some were born in third world countries and never had a chance to receive an education. Some were born handicapped and couldn't operate like others. No one can change that or deny the fact. There's no difference. One could feel bad for the younger sister who knew nothing, but even she had no choice in the matter. Their father abandoned them. Their mother committed suicide. The death separated them from education, and they had nowhere to ask for help. I shouldn't expect her to have the courage to challenge her sister, let alone take care of all this after going through a constantly threatened childhood. Age doesn't determine if one should take responsibility, but if one possesses the respective power and knowledge. We could scold her for making that mistake, but what if she never had a choice in the matter? Breathing out some white smoke, I quietly sighed. You want to restart a place, your life at a place that no one knows about you? That's impossible, even if you paid off the debt. We were born with too many stigmas: gender, race, looks, family. They will not leave you just because you move somewhere else. Is that so? She replied nonchalantly. There's no regret in her voice. How could these people get help? How can this unfairness be changed? Not wanting to ponder questions with no answer, I drank up from the bottle like her. I decided to worry about that once I was out of here. So what now? We can't even chat. It's observation. But I mean, What? That's new. So we've got this maybe receipts looking thing, which is new. In the bathroom. Okay. Let's take a look at this receipt. Even without the packaging, I can, still tell the medicine on the table are sleeping pills. There were quite a few in the house. My mother needed them to fall asleep every night. I actually almost forgot about that, but why does she have them? Why did you buy so many sleeping pills? What? You think I'll poison you? Her response turned to be speechless. She couldn't help but start giggling. Don't worry. There are way more efficient ways to kill you than these. There was a smile on her face, but she mysteriously averted her gaze. So what now? Again, my stamina is perfectly fine right now, so... What else is there? I could look out the window. You can see the sky from the window. I should be able to collect more information if I can get closer. It is not locked, however, since the place doesn't appear to be on the first floor, second floor, jumping out the window is a no-go. This makes the door the only exit out of here. Great. Okay. Like, I mean, there's not much. But we've already examined the cigarettes, we already examined the phone. We could examine the lamp again, I guess. We could try examining something again. I don't think I've actually ever tried that. Look at those cigarettes. Oh, can I burn off the rope with a... Oh, so you do actually get stuff for double examining. That isn't really possible. Well, didn't really do much, but good to know it's different. Also, do I still have another action? I've got one action. Maybe look into the phone? I couldn't get the cell phone. I had to think of other solutions. What? Anything cool going on with the lamp, maybe? Doesn't have any use except for illumination. Okay, the back. The yellowing paper reveals signs of age. It seems to be some popular video game from the past. Okay. There's nothing usable as a weapon except a pen, which is a poor choice against a knife. With the passage of time, the two of us fell silent. And, I mean, this is just going to... No sharp objects. And the window. Okay. The wine glasses were empty, and the topics of conversation were exhausted. All that was left was the epilogue. You're right. Time to end all this. The girl put down the can and walked towards me with the kitchen knife. She didn't even seem to mind the glass shards on the floor. The edge of the knife pointing at me flashed with danger. A simple push and that would be the end of my life. She stopped suddenly. Her hands were trembling, nor did she seem confused. She just observed me calmly. The rain echoed in the room, along with the shallow breathing of the two of us. Aren't you scared? Are you going to kill me? I stared right back into her gaze. In the darkness, her eyes shined like stars. In those eyes, I saw myself, exhausted but fearless. You really aren't scared. Her expression relaxed, and she lowered the hand that held the knife. There was a note of frustration in her voice. Fear wouldn't help much here, right? I could only reply with a bitter smile. There's no way that I wouldn't be scared by having a knife pointed at me. My hands were still trembling. Yet I couldn't escape nor resist. My only hope was that she wouldn't do it. was hoping to see you shit your pants. She cut through the rope around my legs. After finally receiving freedom after all these days, I found this sensation extremely unfamiliar. I tried to move my legs. There were bruises where the rope used to be, as though they weren't part of my own body. I stood up while supporting myself against the wall. Finally looking at her from the eye level, I realized she wasn't actually that tall. She still pointed the knife at me. The dim lamplights lit her exhausted yet determined face. If you really feel there's no difference, then please help them. As you said, they're just unlucky. They're just unlucky. There was something off about her words, but I couldn't really tell what it was. The alcohol had made my mind numb. Now go. Follow the road, and you'll find houses in 10 minutes. The weakness on her face disappeared instantly and changed into the usual cold expression. What about you? I still couldn't believe she would just let me go. I have something else to take care of. Something else? None of your business. Get out before I change my mind. She decided to say nothing more and just stared at me. Was she planning to run? Would there be someone helping her? Neither option seemed likely. Are you nuts? Do I really need to force you out? I still couldn't figure out what was wrong before she started to rush me. There were many pieces hidden in my mind and I couldn't pinpoint the problem. Might be strange for me to say this, but I hope your dream will come true. It will. She smiled lightly with a bizarre confidence. Whatever. Leaving those questions behind, I stepped forward. My joints felt stiff, like rusty metal, and every pull of my muscles led to a sore sensation. This small, dusty room and its moldy air. Would I remember this place, or forever forget about it like a dream? I took a deep breath, pushed open the door, and walked into the rain without turning back. The heavy rain almost instantly soaked my clothes. I couldn't help but tremble from the cold and could barely stand with my twitching thighs. One step at a time. I could barely tell what direction I was headed this late at night. Rain also fogged my vision. The thick bushes cut my skin. This walk felt like an eternity. Was I on the right track? Should I rest? There were all these doubts and questions in my mind, as though they were part of some scenery in a dream. Aye, the same borderless world of darkness that would engulf everything. I raised my face and let the rain fall on it. The icy sensation sobered me up a little. My muscles were still trembling, and I could feel my temperature dropping. I might not be able to go forward if I stopped there. No more running. I promised her that I would live on with my power and change what I hated. I took a deep breath, clenched my teeth, and took another step. Finally, I saw the lights in the distance. As though waking up from a dream, a wave of sensations flooded through me. All the frustration, unease, hunger, and pain were as uncomfortable as fire burning, but they were all real. I finally confirmed it. I had made it out. In that moment of relief, my body gave out and I lost consciousness. They say rain is the tears that God shed for the heartbroken. They say that rain is the water cast by the divine to cleanse our sins. Is this a new note? I'm not sure. The girl rested her head near the window while watching the never-ending rain. Countless memories ran through her mind. Those that she kept in mind, those that she refused to face, and those that she thought she had forgotten. Must be the medicine. She was losing her grasp on consciousness. Her head was heavy, like she had a hangover. She recalled the kidnapping event, her father and her mother who ended her life. She had hated him for abandoning them, and her for showing weakness in the face of pressure. She thought of Ling, her sister who never experienced real joy. She didn't know if her sister was doing well or if she was safe. Strangely enough, there wasn't that much emotion at that very moment. There was a little bit of regret and sadness, but nothing else seemed to matter. Finally, the person she kidnapped. She wanted to torment those self-righteous people and make them taste the same fear and hunger. However, the more time they spent together, the less she understood. Was he just someone special? Or was the distance between the two just not as far apart as she had thought? We aren't different. You were just lucky. Or unlucky. This is the first time someone had told her that. She had been pushing herself and refused to show any weakness before others. Not until hearing that line did she realize how much she craved recognition. She wanted someone to tell her this wasn't her fault, and that we were all the same. Even with different upbringings and from different social classes, could the two truly understand each other? It was getting difficult to think. Let someone else handle the complicated questions. The last cigarette was lit. The smell woke up her mind, just a little, yet her hand could hold it no more. She left it on the desk and let the familiar scent permeate the room. She powerlessly laid her head on the desk and saw the world turn blurry before her. The irresistible sleepiness took over her body. So tired. She deserved a rest after doing this much, right? She couldn't even feel the cold now, and her body grew ever lighter. Slowly, consciousness was also leaving her. Even the sound of rain was leaving her, and was replaced by a white world. You had to restart your life in a place where no one knows about you? That's impossible, even if you paid off the debts. His words came to mind as she weakly smiled. It's possible. Let go of all the labels and find a place to restart your life. Her eyes were closed along with her consciousness. The girl quietly fell into a never-ending slumber, embraced by the rainy night. Oh. Light in the dark. Okay, man. Well, that's bittersweet, I guess. I wonder if there actually is an unambiguously good ending in this game. Not have such a thing. Oh, man, so... Well then, I mean, we didn't die at that time. And... that's something. I guess you can say we kind of... got a good ending, then? Yeah. Oh, what's this? Okay. It had been a week since the day I escaped from that prison. Also, what's this note? Hold on. I need to know. Is it anything? Doesn't seem like it. Oh well. It had been a week since the day I escaped from that prison. When I woke up, I was met with a clean, white ceiling and the unique disinfectant scent of a sick room. Apparently someone found me collapsed on the side of the road and sent me to the hospital before I died of hypothermia. Once I got a little better, I was bombarded by police questioning and journalist interviews. I declined them all with the excuse of my unstable mental state. Even for the statement, I only offered the bare minimum. I knew it was pointless, but I just didn't want to assist them with the investigation. It might be futile, but I didn't want to betray her trust. I wanted to give more thought to what to do first. However, it wasn't necessary to ask me anyway. It didn't take long before the case was closed. I wasn't shocked by the outcome since I already had a vague idea of it when I left there. However, I somehow felt something was lost. It was a bizarre sense of emptiness, as though someone had gouged out my heart. She wanted to start a new life. So that's what she meant. Note updated. A way to free her from the labels and answer her prayer to live in a better world. Unfortunate. I murmured to myself next to the window. I lit a cigarette and placed it on the desk. There was nostalgia about this scent that I used to hate. The azure skies had lightened up and a breeze was now blowing. Is it the same sunny day where you are now? I closed my eyes and prayed for her. So that's ending 1, A Light in the Dark. New Start, I guess, is what it's called. Yeah, so there we go. That's, I guess, playthrough 2 of A Light in the Dark. I guess I'm more satisfied with that ending than the previous one. Yeah, but like I said, I'm not even sure. This seems like the type of game that just might not have an unambiguously good ending. And I'm not sure. Maybe we'll go for another round, or maybe not. I'm not certain what endings remain for us. If is actually an unambiguously good ending out there, or another good ending, or if the rest of it is just kind of dying from being sick or getting stabbed to death or something. I mean, if we could look at the gallery, I guess. Yeah, that implies that there's probably at least a couple legitimate other paths we could go for. But anyways, guys, I'll throw the question to you. Do you want to see more Light in the Dark, or do you content with this series and just want to, I don't know, discover the rest of the game for yourself or something? Yeah, so that's a question for you guys. And until next time, guys, I've been CMeeCraft, and I'll catch you in the next video. Whether perhaps another playthrough of A Light in the Dark, or something else. Goodbye.